Good evening, everybody. We are going to give everybody just a few minutes to hop on. And as everybody is hopping on, we will then get started. How has your week been? How has your week been? Make sure that you are inviting friends. Be sure that you are including everyone that you care about to be a part of the show tonight, so that if there are any questions or things that is on their mind or needing to be answered, that they have a place of support. They have a place to come where people care for them and they are not alone. You know, so many times we feel like we are alone in what we experience in life. Oftentimes we feel like, there's just not enough of us to go around. We feel like we're not enough to everybody in our life. And that can be overwhelming, right? So I was just inviting a bunch of friends while you are joining. So it's great to see everybody. Great to see Jess and Jan and Rana and Sue. It is so great to see you, Sherry. I missed you last week. How has everybody been doing, George? It is so great to see you, Tyrone and Mary Ann. So how's life been this week? What are some things that you were stressed about? What are some things that you were overwhelmed? How did you work through them? Oftentimes, whenever life gets ahead of us and we are feeling overwhelmed and there's too much going on, we start to lose the ability to care for ourselves, right? We become caught up in just that feeling of trying to catch air rather than how can we take care of ourselves so that we can care for those around us. So what did you do this week to take care of yourself? Hey, Liberty, it's great to see you. Happy birthday, Liberty. Today is Liberty's birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Liberty. She is a dear friend of mine, and when I get stressed or I am overwhelmed, I reach out. That hasn't always been the case. It wasn't too long ago that whenever I was stressed, I kept it in. I wanted people to see me as strong, as independent, not needing anybody. And what I learned is, the power of your circle, the power of your friends and the family that loves you is really where it's at for stability in life, is that connection and being connected. And Liberty is one of those people that I like to stay connected. She's part of the inner circle. So Liberty, happy birthday to you, my beautiful friend. And I hope today has been amazing for you. Hey, Ruth, it's great to see you. That's my mama. And Crystal, welcome. How you doing, Crystal? It's been a long time since you and I have chatted. And Sherry, I am so glad you're doing better. That lifts my heart. I have been praying for you this week very specifically. So I'm glad you're feeling better. And Rick, great to see you. Lisa, it's great to see you as well. Lisa, you and I have a few things to talk about. I am getting started in a business. We talked about it last week a little bit. And from what I understand, Lisa, I heard through the grapevine that you're involved too. Hey, Mary Lynn, it is great to see you. Yes, you're joining me live. I'm so glad to have you, Mary Lynn. For those of you who are new, or for those of you who come each and every week, it is Ask the Therapist Live. This is your opportunity to be the guest. This is your opportunity to ask a question that's been pressing on your heart. Perhaps it's about your children, your marriage, relationships, career, self-development, whatever it may be. This is your opportunity tonight, every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to ask those questions. Ask whatever you may need. And we will answer it tonight. If you're uncomfortable asking in the comment section, if you're concerned others will see it, don't hesitate. Direct message me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you need, or text me if you have my number. And I will answer your question anonymously. Hey, Salvino, it's great to see you as well. So if you have any questions, you just randomly ask them. What we learn about each other is that oftentimes the question that you have, everybody else has the same question too. Everybody else is thinking the same thing you are. So let's start off really easy today until you have a question. Let's start off easy. So how many of you have children, whether they are your biological children, adopted children, or children from a blended family? How many of you have children and so many times they say, there's nothing to eat in the house, right? Like, Mom, where's the food? There's nothing here. I get this question all the time. And I say to the children, please make a list. I understand that there's nothing here that you like. Make a list and I will go get it. And tonight, and how many times do they make the list? Never, right? Drives me crazy. So, hey, Patty, great to see you. So tonight, what I said to my son, I said, look, there's a really cool service that Giant Eagle has. You can actually go online, select the groceries that you want, hold them in your cart. I will review them, make the payment, and pick them up on my way home from work. That way you get what you're looking for, right? So not that he would generally get a bunch of junk, but he wants more fruit in the house. So balancing being a mom, being a parent, being a dad, and work and taking care of our children's needs can be really challenging at times, right? So when it's challenging for you, how do you get the support that you need to meet everybody's needs? What do you do? Do you ask your mom to help, a friend to help? Do you lose your mind? Is anxiety overwhelming? Do you set boundaries with your children and say, look, be a bit more independent and figure this out? What do you do? Hey, Tony, great to see you. Yeah, so like in this day and age, you can actually order all your groceries online and stop and they'll just put them right into your car. I've not done it yet. I hate grocery shopping, which is why there's no food here. But that actually can be done. Hey, PJ, it's great to see you. Hey, PJ, don't hesitate to share your link for your businesses. I know that you are a rockin' businessman and you do so much. So that helps people holistically, whether it's lose weight or be able to reach their goals. So PJ, don't hesitate to share your links. Hey, Shannon, Lynn, it is great to see you. I have missed you. I've missed you. So again, as always, ask your questions. So let's talk a little bit. Mary Lynn, we have nothing good to eat in this house. Yes, right? Even when the fridge and cupboard is full. I get this comment. Thanks for the great suggestion to have them make a list for online shopping. Yes, absolutely. I think it'd be really easy. You know, don't complain unless you have a solution, right? That's what my husband has taught me. Like, okay, it's not a problem unless it's a problem. If you're going to bring a problem to me, at least bring a suggested solution. I agree, right? Hey, Christine, it's great to see you, and Denny. So last week, we talked a little bit about some opportunities that I may have to start a business, not start a business, but just ways to care for you, right? And there are different methods. Whenever we have anxiety or depression, how do we treat it? We treat it therapeutically, coming in to see a therapist. You can and learn skills and techniques through coaching, right? We can look at supplements. We can look at nutrition and how nutrition impacts us. One of the other ways that we can address, I'm sorry, I can't talk today. One of the other ways that we can address our anxiety, depression is through prescription medications. Many people don't want to use a prescription medication. They have adverse effects, side effects, perhaps they don't want to put them into their body. So last week that I was looking at an opportunity to carry CBD oil in my office. And I was looking at what are the implications professionally? How can CBD oil help and support people in my practice? Would people be open to it? What is the perception of a clinician carrying CBD oil? And I even took it the next step that was really important to me is how does biblically, what does it look like biblically to sell CBD oil, right? Is there any conflict morally with it? And I was wrestling with that last week. And you guys were amazing. You shared with me your thoughts around CBD oil. We even had some pastors weigh in. And it was really, really powerful last week as we talked about it. So I took time. I did some research. I actually owe a few of you some information. If Lauren, she's not here yet, but if Lauren hops on, I'll be able to share that information. And this is where Lisa comes in. Lisa, if you're still in the room, I believe you're actually doing this. You're actually promoting and selling CBD oil. what I learned is for those who don't know what CBD oil is, CBD oil originates from the marijuana, the cannabis plant. And there is THC, which is the component of the plant that does have the properties that create that feeling of being high, right? THC and CBD oil. CBD oil is the other property in the plant, and it does not create that feeling of being high. Instead, it has healing properties in it. And you actually, from the plant, you can separate it out. And so when we look at treatment for anxiety, depression, oppositional defiant disorder, ADD, things that are mood disorders, we can see success through science, evidence of CBD oil being effective to treat. Now, as a therapist, I always believe that you treat anything in conjunction with therapy, with services to teach you how to really manage skills, so we're not using a Band-Aid to cover or mask anything, right? So looking at the research, there's a lot of science that promotes CBD oil. Again, it doesn't have the property to make you high, just the healing property to be able to manage symptoms, right? We're not gonna use the word treat. So I met with a company and I really like what they presented. I like the information, the science that they presented. And I did decide to begin to carry CBD oil in my office. Now, what that entails is there's twofold. You can have just a website where clients like you can go to the website and make that purchase of the oil. I can go to the website myself and purchase it at wholesale cost and then bring it to my office and sell it. Or the next level would be to carry a large volume of product in my office. So there's different levels. And what I decided to do was start with just the website. And I am going to ask for 4 to 5, 6, perhaps clients who are willing to try the CBD oil for a 30-day trial, just to try it to see what is it like, is it effective, and if they've noticed any differences, and then really chart their progress or their regression, whatever that looks like, before I begin to really promote it. And I decided I'm not going to promote it. I'm not going to advertise it. Instead, it's going to be selective, so that it truly is about what's best for the client. It's not about marketing and moving up any professional ladder, right? So that's how I decided to proceed. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Has anybody tried CBD oil to treat a mood disorder? Has anybody tried it to treat pain? As I talk with my parents, their generation is interested in using it for arthritis. And there's a lot of science behind that. So I'm curious, did anybody think more about CBD oil? Has anybody thought about wanting to try it, or curious? Do you have questions about it that perhaps I can help you answer? Part of my education is going to be learning, what does it do? CBD oil can be administered in multiple ways. It can be administered through capsules, through a salve where you actually apply it, and that's what Sue is referencing, right? She's saying not just mental disorders, but chronic pain, and like due to injuries, military injury. It does not cause you to get high, but works great to relieve the inflammation associated with joint injuries. Yes. And so, Sue, you and I can talk about what that looks like for you and how you could use it. And Jan is saying the same thing. Her friend uses CBD oil for pain. So that's actually the most common. But I'm curious to see, how does CBD oil treat anxiety, depression? How does it help us with mood disorders, right? And like I was saying, the way that it can be delivered is through capsules, through a salve where you can apply to the pain, through vaping where you have just a vape pen, and you can inhale it. And then the other ways are just pure CBD oil itself, the oil itself, and using it in application or ingestion. Now, again, Shannon, you're saying you've never heard of it, right? So Shannon, I can send you information, but CBD oil right now in Pennsylvania, we're seeing great increase in medical marijuana. And CBD oil is without the THC, Shannon, so there isn't the ability to get high from it. And it just has healing properties. So that if you don't want to try medication, so here's how I'm going to use it in my practice. When I work with a client, we start with behavioral intervention. So whenever you're experiencing something like obsessive thoughts that you can't get rid of, we call it rumination. So when you're ruminating in thoughts, oftentimes you can't sleep at night, you become agitated, irritable. Many of us suffer from rumination and thoughts that we can't stop. So the first step we do is we talk about how do we take care of them behaviorally, right? If you're unable to manage them behaviorally, the next step we look at are what are some supplements that you can take, some calming properties, right, that you can take. And then the next would be prescription medications, right? So instead, I'm going to add that layer of CBD oil. So before I recommend a prescription medication, I'm going to recommend CBD oil if it's appropriate for that client. Okay, so that's how I plan to use it in my practice. So let's look through some of these comments and see what everybody's chatting about. So Shannon, feel free to reach out to me and I can send you information. I'm learning too. Shannon Lee says, I believe that it works. I've not tried it with any regularity to know how if it works long term. Yes. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. So, and Shannon says, how about a connection with EMDR therapy? This is a great point. EMDR therapy is used to treat trauma. And we have talked about EFT, which is the tapping. EMDR is a similar form of trauma treatment, and it's used with rapid eye movement. So you're doing eye movement to treat trauma, so you're not reliving the trauma. So that's what Shannon's talking about. So Shannon, I think this is a great point. Whenever you go in for EMDR, if you've ever experienced it, there's a high level of anxiety. A way to lower your level of anxiety as you enter into an EMDR session could be through the use of the CBD oil. And Shannon says, in the beginning of grief therapy, utilizing EMDR, how can this oil be useful for EMDR and grief therapy? Yes. So supplements equals melatonin before CBD oil, and you're asking. So I see them as different. I generally encourage people to use melatonin to sleep. I've not used melatonin in another capacity, Shannon. So if you've used it in a different manner, please share with us. We love to learn new things. So CBD oil for sleep instead of melatonin, I would say yes. And here's why. Based on my knowledge and what I'm learning, melatonin has a hangover effect where the CBD oil would not have it. Many people experience a hangover effect with melatonin. So it may be something that you could try initially, and if you can't sleep, then the melatonin. Now, the issue I would have is if you can't sleep, if a person can't stay sleeping through the night, so it's more than just having a hard time falling asleep, I don't imagine the CBD oil would keep you all night. I don't know. Again, I would have to do some research around that. But I think the melatonin, Shannon, keeps you all night. So if it's just that initial ability to sleep, I would think that the CBD oil would have less of a long-term effect. I can't use melatonin. I wake up in the morning very groggy, and it's hard for me to start my day. So if that's the case, then CBD oil may be an option, whether you're using it as ingestion or an inhalation through vaping to help you fall asleep. That was a great question, Shannon. Thank you. Yeah, Shannon Lee, for pain issues, for sure. And that's what we know it most for. Hey, Dr. Frank and Lancaster and Mick, it's great to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about CBD oil and how it can be used in treatment, both medically and emotionally. I'm not a medical doctor, but people are sharing that CBD oil has been used effectively through chronic pain. As you know, I'm making a decision to carry CBD oil in my office, and I will be helping clients manage emotions through the use of CBD oil prior to recommending prescription drugs. Or if your prescription drug is not holding or lasting long enough or capturing it completely, instead of bumping up your medication, my recommendation is going to be adding CBD oil, provided there are not any drug interactions, right? We would have to definitely do that research. So I hope that catches you guys up. I'm sorry, Shannon, those are separate questions. How can CBD oil connect to EMDR therapy? Yes, I believe it can connect to your EMDR therapy in a couple ways. One, you're going to use the CBD oil on a daily basis. So you would take that as if you were taking a regular medication. You could also increase the CBD oil when you go to your session so that you are calm, relaxed to go into your session. EMDR has a different purpose than the oil. EMDR is truly to help you treat trauma so that you can heal and move past. So to me, as a clinician, you would use it in conjunction with. And the way it would help is by relaxing you prior to the session. Now remember, it doesn't have the property of making you feel high. It's just that healing property taking the edge off slightly without the feeling of being high. So does that make sense? Does that help, Shannon? I see it used in conjunction. And promotion of relaxing prior to a session. Lots of clients come in my office highly anxious. They come in worried about what they're going to talk about and how they're going to be affected. So CBD oil prior to a therapy session would be useful to open up the mind and relax you. And then on a daily basis to maintain that relaxed state so that you don't move into obsessive thinking, anxiety, panic attacks, etc. So, as we look at Sue's comment, I've heard from several of my EMS friends that it does help with PTSD. In fact, it helps relieve the symptoms, not relive, right? Relieve the symptoms of anxiety and helps with sleep, which reduces PTSD symptoms. Love it, Sue. Thank you. That's priceless to me. Anybody who's been through a trauma and has PTSD symptoms knows that if we can find a healthy way to relieve the flashbacks, relieve the anxiety, the residual effects of PTSD, it's a win, especially without prescription medication, right? And to me, it's almost like you're putting something else natural in like a stopgap, right? Like what doesn't pick it up. So thank you, Sue, for sharing that. I think that's really helpful. And I believe, CBD oil in my office will be about testimonies. I really do. I really believe it's going to be about people who are willing to try it and are open to looking at how does CBD oil help them and sharing their stories so that it builds a positive reputation. Now, not everybody can use it, right? Some people are not going to feel the effect. It's not going to be useful, and that's okay too. We just need to look at what will work. And Jan says, has anyone tried a brain stimulation device such as Fisher-Wallace one? Fisher-Wallace. You know what, Jan? You know so much. You are so wise. You need to co-host with me. I have not heard of Fisher-Wallace. I've not heard of a brain stimulation device that I'm aware of. That's not right. I did, I can't remember which one I had researched, but I had looked at one in my office, Jan, a long time ago. And I wanted to create a room where clients can come in even without a session and sit in a chair and hook up to the stimulation to work through some things. So I don't know what brand it was, Jan. Has anybody else used the brain stimulation that Jan's talking about? If you have, raise your hand and let's share. Hey, Jen, it's great to see you. Congratulations. Jen Coblin is Jen Coblin is a newlywed. She just got married. Congratulations, Jen. We are so excited for you, and thank you for sharing pictures. You were a stunning bride, and Jen, the joy and the happiness I see on your face is just contagious. So thank you. Thank you. How can you purchase? Hey, Shannon, just reach out to me and I will definitely give you the information to purchase. So if you want to send me a direct message, I will share that link with you and I can have a conversation about it, and we will make sure it gets to you as soon as possible. So yeah, just reach out to me, Shannon, and I will take care of that for you. And Shannon, you said in PS, my therapist uses horses in my therapy. Oh, I love that. Yes. How many of us find our animals, whether it's a horse or a cat, a dog, therapeutic, right? How healing is it to spend time with animals? Horses are known to be highly therapeutic. And Shannon, I love that combination of EMDR, horses, therapy. It's powerful. Definitely a bonus. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that, Shannon. You could actually be a testimony to how horse therapy has been useful for you. You know, perhaps others don't know the benefit of that. Here in Pittsburgh, we have multiple stables that actually offer horse therapy, and it's pretty powerful, So yeah. So Jan said, you came really close to buying one, but it's $700. Yes, they're very costly. I think the one I looked at was between $800 and $1,000. You could rent them, but yeah, they're very costly. So, you know, what we looked at, Jan, and this may be of interest to you, is we had actually looked at 4 clinicians sharing the cost. And rotating it between our offices. So each clinician would have it for 1 week, and clients could book a time to be, you know, to use the stimulation machine, and that would defray some of the cost. So is there anyone, Jan, that you know that might be interested in sharing the cost of it? I think it would be powerful. You know, again, I don't remember all the details. That was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I haven't looked at it since, but I do remember it's pretty powerful. So you know why you know everything, Jan? Not only are you highly intelligent, oh my goodness, it just dawned on me. You're in California. You live in California. You're way more progressive than we are in PA. So thank you, Jan, for sharing. I learn something new from you all the time. I appreciate that. So Shannon Lee, me, you're saying me. I can't remember, what did I ask that me? Horses? Loving horses? Therapeutically horses? Or do you want information on the oil? If you want information on CBD oil and you want to have a conversation with me, please send me a direct message. I will not be able to remember if you just put it in the comment section. It'll get lost. So if you want to learn more about CBD oil and the application in your life, please don't hesitate. I'm all about education and helping you make the best decision for you based on my professional experience. So send me a direct message through Facebook is fine, okay? Yes, Shannon, happy to support others in their healing process. Shannon, how powerful is it to support someone when you're healing and they're healing too? Like, so powerful, right? Animals being therapeutic. Oh yes, Shannon, why didn't I put that together? I should know. You are like lover of dogs. So yeah, absolutely. Animals are definitely very therapeutic. Hey Barb, it's great to see you. So Sue says, okay, seriously, I seriously think I am totally weird, but I find my cats stress me out more. When I'm having a flare-up, I have to get away from them. I can't take the grooming, the food crunching, the chaos they create when flying around the house chasing each other. I love them and would never hurt them in any way, but I'm not someone who could do a therapy animal. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sue. I think many people make the assumption, right, that all animals are great for therapy, but for you in particular, you feel like the cat could drive you crazy, right? I don't think you're weird at all. I don't think you're weird at all. The cat, my cat, sometimes agitates me when it won't let me cuddle. Like if the cat won't let me cuddle with it, I actually get like a little anxious and irritated. So I totally get it. I totally get it. So let me check my social media. I think I might have some questions. Let's see. Let me check it out. So while I'm checking, please share your experiences if you have experiences with CBD oil, with any type of therapy that's been useful for you, whether it's EMDR. Share with us any struggles that you may have that you want to ask a question about. We've spent some time looking at multiple treatments. If you have any questions about different treatments, that seems to be a nice theme that comes up each week as I look at my questions. Okay. Mhm. All right. So the question is, when we are unable to help someone due to circumstances beyond your control, how can we get help for them from others when they are not able to help themselves? Okay, so this is really a great question. We love to help people in general. That's why you're here, because you're givers, you are seekers who want to help and grow. And so what do we do when we're unable to help someone due to circumstances beyond your control? How can we get help for them from others when they are not able to help themselves, right? This happens often. Hey, Christy, it's great to see you. Welcome. I'm sure the weather in Florida is just gorgeous. So great question. So in terms of being able to help someone else when we're not able to help them beyond our circumstances, is the first thing is to acknowledge that yes, absolutely, you do not have control. When we're able to acknowledge that we do not have control of a situation, then we begin to lessen our level of anxiety due to the feeling of responsibility. When we feel responsible to do something, it can create anxiety or frustration or depression when we're not able to do that, right? And we end up taking it personally. If the person's not willing to help themselves, oftentimes that's really difficult to get them to seek the support or to get the help when they're not ready. There are people who come into my office who are there because their spouse forced them to be there or their parent forced them to be there. And one of the very first things I say, even to clients who come into my office, is clearly you're resistant. Clearly you have no desire to be here. If you have no desire to be here, then we're both wasting our time. I'm here to help those who want to be helped. I'm not here to fight with someone about getting help. Now that's different than a client that shows up every week and is resistant to grow. But someone who really refuses help, I tell the parent, I tell the spouse, it's not time. When they are ready, it will be most effective, right? So if they're not able to help themselves because of their own issues and you want someone else to help them, again, that sounds to me like an attempt to try to control other people or to try to shift responsibility, knowing that you can't do it anymore, not in a negative way, but more in a codependent way. Like, gosh, I really want to see this person get the help they want and I can't do it and I can't control it. Maybe I can get somebody else to do it, because I want them to have that help, right? So if this person has friends that are good friends, I think it's okay to be able to reach out and say, look, the circumstances, things are tough right now and I can't do anything, but if you don't mind, because I love this person as a human being, could you just support them the best that you can? So when they're ready to get the help, then you're there and they're not alone. But at the end of the day, if a person refuses help, they don't want help, they will need to bottom out before they're ready, or they need to make that decision. Until they make that decision, nobody can do it for them. And I know that that's not the best answer. We want a magic wand when we care for someone and we love someone to get the help they need. But the reality is that's disruption in their journey. That's disruption in their journey. And what I mean by that is if that person isn't ready to get help or can't help themselves, right? It is instinctual for us to save ourselves in some way, right? It is against who we are to harm ourselves unless there's emotional turmoil, right? So that is part of the journey, is working through those difficult times to come to a place of acceptance and willingness to get help. If we force it or we are persistent, we are interfering with their journey. Does that make sense? We're interfering with their ability to be exactly who God intended them to be. Another example of this is my parenting style is I want my kids to make their own mistakes. I do not want to protect my children from their mistakes. Now, don't get me wrong. If it is something life-threatening or I feel like they could truly be injured or hurt, of course, I'm going to protect them. But they may do things like pursue a relationship or a friendship that I'm not thrilled about. I'm going to use that to help them grow rather than not permit them, right? Now that's different if circumstances are such that it's dangerous, right? So if my child asks me if they can go to someone's house who grows marijuana in the backyard and parents smoke marijuana, there's serious mental health issues and dad's an alcoholic, chances are I'm going to say no. I'm not going to send them into the trap, right? But instead, I'm going to say, well, what about that place would you like to be? What is that about, right? So we would process. But that doesn't stop being a friend with them. That doesn't stop that person coming to our home so that they can still learn and grow. So I hope that makes sense, Shannon. We don't ever want to stunt someone's growth or stand in the way of the journey, even if it's painful to watch, because it's their journey and they're going to grow and be the person that they have been, striving to be one day, but it's not our responsibility. Hey, Jason, it's great to see you. Great to see you. Sherry says EMDR has been helpful recently. Great, and you've had some great breakthroughs. Yes, EMDR is powerful. I'm not certified, but I think that it's great. It's great. Angela says, just got another guinea pig since I can't have bigger animals. Yes, so for you, guinea pigs is very therapeutic. Absolutely, that is awesome. And Shannon Lynn says, I think EMDR was invaluable for me. Art therapy, creative expression can be helpful when there are no words to. Yes. Yes, Shannon is going to school to pursue her degree in counseling. And so yes, I agree with you, Shannon. Art therapy, even if you're not an artist, there is benefit to art therapy. You wouldn't think, but I have taken a few art therapy sessions to understand that form of therapy, and I can't even draw a stick figure properly. So it was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So yes, thank you. And Jan says, that's great insight. People often ask me how to make a loved one get help for mental illness or take their medication. It's so difficult. Yeah, it is. We just can't do it. Some people are not willing to accept the help. And to me, it just means they're not ready. There are times in each of our lives where we have not been ready to accept help. There have been times in our lives where we want to do it on our own, figure it out by ourselves, whether we're stubborn, we don't trust other people, but we have each gone down that path of needing help but not getting help. And it is part of the fabric of our being. It made us more resilient, stronger. It made us warriors as we did travel that journey and eventually ask for help when most times we had nowhere else to go or we bottomed out, right? So we don't want to take away that life lesson from anybody, as difficult as it is, right? Again, there are circumstances, a very practical circumstance, and sounds obvious, but I'm going to say it out loud, is obviously if someone is having suicidal thoughts, or has a plan or is at high risk for suicide, you definitely want to get help, right? Regardless, you always, always, always want to reach out for help if someone's suicidal. We don't permit that journey. That's the wrong word. We don't permit. We don't stand back and watch that journey, right? We definitely want them to get that help. Homicidal too, right? So there are some exceptions to that, but I think you get what I mean. So any questions? It is Ask the Therapist Live, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Tuesday, you get the floor. You get to be the guest. You have an opportunity at no cost for me to serve you with my strengths, my gifts, my talents by walking alongside you, caring for you, reminding you how much you are loved and what an amazing person you are. To be here if you're struggling and need some clarification, looking for resources, whatever you may need, that's what I'm here for. So don't hesitate to reach out. Either direct message me if you want it private or ask in the comments section. What you've learned is the people in the comment section, this is your tribe. These are incredible people who come together every Tuesday night. I'll tell you, it's the same people with new ones each week. It's awesome. I love being with each and every one of you and sharing this space. Welcome, Aunt Margie. It's great to see you. I bet you're enjoying lots of sunshine. And Jana, Bridget, great to see you, Bridget. Sherry, I struggled with getting help for so long, then online counseling was an option and you met me. Yes, you did. Yes. Counseling can be delivered in multiple modalities. Many people think the only way to receive counseling is to show up in an office somewhere. Not anymore. That used to be the case, but it's been very growing progressively, right? So Sherry, when I met you, online counseling was really just developing at the time. And online counseling is utilized, whether it's through video like this. At that time, I was actually doing texting, like typing, right? So I would type back and forth with people across the globe and treat them therapeutically, or it can be on telephone, right? So and texting. So there are multiple modalities of therapy to get support. There are a host of people who are fearful to leave their house or are debilitated by their own mood disorder or struggles in life. So the ability to be able to share space with you when you're not able or ready to come into the office is really powerful. Sherry, how long have we known each other? Do you know? It's been a long time. See if you can count the years, Sherry, because you and I go way, way back. In fact, I would venture to say you're one of my very first clients. I think of one other person at the same time that I worked with, but yeah, you were one of my first. So does anybody have a preference of therapy and how you like to receive therapy or coaching? Do you like to come into the office? Some people love that personal contact. They like to be able to sit in the space, right? Hey, Marcy, it's great to see you. Other people I do only phone sessions with, so others I do video. What do you prefer? What do you prefer therapeutically or through coaching? Everybody has different needs. What science has shown us is that, yes, indeed, online counseling, phone counseling is equally as effective as being in the office, right? As being in the office. So really, there is multiple ways, which is exciting, right? I think it's so exciting to know that we can share space with people. So talk to me about your week, the struggles with your week. It was funny. One of the things that I struggle with on a fairly regular basis, you like to be able to see the other person. Yeah, Marcy. So that could look like in office or video, or do you just prefer in office? You like that personal touch. So one of the things that, I have been struggling with off and on, and I believe it'll resonate with you, which is why I'm sharing. Either office or video chat. Yeah, definitely, Marcy. Thank you. Is that feeling of being enough. How many of you struggle from time to time, sometimes daily, with feeling like you are enough? What do you think? Are you willing to share? Feeling like you're enough, how is it defined? When do you know that you are enough? Who gets to decide, right? For me, it's typically when I'm overwhelmed, right? When I have too much to do, not enough hours in the day, and I'm doing everything not to the best of my ability. Like that's when I begin to feel like I'm not enough, and I have to realign my priorities and say, what's most important? Most important is my relationship with God, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children, with my family, and then my work, right? It's easy to get out of whack for me. And the moment I'm out of whack, I feel less than. I feel like I'm not enough. How about you? When have you experienced that? Jan says every day. Says every day. So many of us do. And PJ is sharing with us as a certified crystal healer and Reiki master teacher practitioner. Would CBD oil be a great tool to offer my clients with their healing? Or do you think it would negate the purpose of crystal and energy healing? That's a huge question. PJ, I would need to do additional research, to be honest with you. I don't want to, make something up. I do know about energy healing. That makes sense to me from a psychological perspective, but I actually don't know a lot about the crystal component. So I would need to do the research. If anybody else would like to weigh in on that, I think it's really a great question. So would there be a benefit to CBD oil with crystals and energy healing? In my opinion, from what I am learning about CBD oil, is that it helps to be able to relax, be more open-minded, be able to be less obsessive in thinking. And these are our emotional benefits, right? Psychological benefits. We do know in terms of chronic pain that yes, CBD oil is very beneficial. So, PJ, as we think through this with Reiki, how often does chronic pain interfere with your work as a healer? How often do they come to you for chronic pain? So as you and I are talking through this, PJ, it would make sense to me that one of the prominent reasons CBD oil has gotten such news coverage is its healing process or ability to manage chronic pain. So with that knowledge, you would lessen the chronic pain to be able to reach a deeper level of healing through energy. I would see that it'd be beneficial, but I'm the type of person where I have to do the research. I need to see the scientific studies. I need to see the journals, right? And there may not be any on this. So it would be more about us deducting, doing a great solid intake of that person to make sure there wouldn't be drug interactions. But if chronic pain is part of your treatment as a healer, then yes, it would make sense that CBD oil would be beneficial. Could it be negative, a negative interaction with crystals? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the crystals work. I would think that it would be enhancing, but I'm not sure. Great question. Please, anybody, if you weigh in, let me go ahead and weigh in. And Jan said, every day she doesn't feel like she's enough. And Sherry said, I couldn't leave my apartment on Thursday. It was such a struggle. If I did leave, I was going to leave this world. So I stayed home to stay safe. Whenever there are suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation is feeling overwhelming to you and you know what works, if for you it works to be in a safe place like your apartment, then yes, that's what you want to do. However, I still want you to reach out. I don't want isolation. Nowhere ever is it okay to isolate when there are suicidal thoughts. Instead, I want you to reach out to friends, your support system, to be able to at least support you when you're in your apartment, journaling, doing those things. So yes, stay safe if that's where, what helps you, right? Many people have suicidal thoughts on a regular basis, on a daily basis, multiple times a day. It's not fun, but a lot of times people have the thoughts and there's not a risk. It's not up to you to determine. It's not up to that person. That's up to a professional to determine if there's a risk, right? You don't want that decision for you, but just to help you understand, there are many people who have suicidal thoughts all the time and they have no intention of carrying it out. They're intrusive, automatic thoughts that we treat, okay? And Marcy says, I typically feel like I'm too much. Good point though. If pressed and overwhelmed, I don't feel enough. I tend to go full board with everything and fall short in some of my roles. Yes, I like what you said, Marcy, in terms of feeling like sometimes you're too much, right? And being too much, there tends to be some consequences of that. You know, for you, Marcy, what were some of those consequences of being too much? You know, that intensity of going full board, then crashing, right? Or not being able to fulfill those roles completely. Absolutely. So I think that's a really great point, Marcy. Thank you. And Marcy also shared, agreed about CBD oil. If you can remove the physical chronic pain, then you can realign your energy. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So yeah, PJ, you and I can spend some time talking about that. Just send me that message and you and I will schedule a time and we can talk about the benefits and the science and see how it may fit into your practice. I do think that there are benefits to you in particular, not only with healing properties, PJ, but there are nutritional benefits as well for weight loss with CBD oil. So PJ, in your business, I do think that there are multiple ways that you could actually use the CBD oil that's beneficial to your clients. And you and I will definitely hop on a call and we can talk about what that would look like for you. And PJ says, awesome insight. And I was thinking the same thing as far as relaxing and open-mindedness. That's a huge part of energy healing. A large portion of clients are dealing with pain or stress and anxiety. So I'm thinking adding the CBD oil to the crystal or Reiki healing definitely would enhance the healing by offering extra healing properties. And you sent me a personal message already. Perfect. Yes, yes. Yeah, Shannon Lee agrees, with Marcy. So definitely. So in terms of feeling enough, when you don't feel enough, what do you do? What do you do to realign your thoughts, to remember who you are, what you bring to the table of life? What do you do to feel like you are enough? As I check my phone to make sure that I haven't received any messages. Okay. Seems. All right, so I do have one more question, or I do have another question, and we are looking at 925. You're supposed to be thinking about what you do whenever you don't feel like you're enough, okay? That's your assignment as we're working here. So the question is, and this is anonymous, can you discuss how bullying and abuse can cause long-term self-esteem issues on teens, but also discuss briefly what types of therapies can help them rebuild their self-esteem and become confident whole person again before they start with destructive behaviors? Okay. Yeah, thank you, Marcy. You talk with your husband. He's your best friend. You're right. So when you're feeling like you're not enough, connecting with someone. Last night, I didn't feel like I was enough when I was doing some work. I felt like I was going to absolutely fail. And there was actually a little bit of doubt about, gosh, what if I succeed? Then what, right? That fear of success comes in. And I actually reached out to Liberty last night and said to her, oh my gosh, like I am sobbing. This is really emotional for me. I'm working on this project and I don't feel like I'm enough. Like, around me here. And she was super, super helpful. So I was appreciative of that. So reaching out for support, definitely, Marcy, thank you so much. So looking at bullying, this question is around bullying and being able to heal from bullying and what are the long-term effects and what types of therapy is effective. Now, this particular person is referencing her teen, but what we do know about bullying is, yes, it's most common, or at least we hear about it the most in schools, right? But it also happens in work, with people at work, right? It can happen out in public. So we are all affected by bullying at one time or another, whether it looks like just passive aggressive or it truly is this abusive bullying that she's referring to, right? None of it is appropriate or acceptable. So the long-term effects of bullying Definitely looking at lower level of self-esteem, which you alluded to. Anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder is often part of bullying. You know, that feeling of always looking over your shoulder, not being able to trust your surroundings, the inability to trust other people, particularly the gender that bullied you. You may struggle with connecting and trusting. Because of the PTSD, the anxiety, then there's often insomnia, right? Or uncontrollable crying, nervous tics, weight gain, weight loss. The long-term effects of untreated bullying are lower level self-esteem, again, the inability to trust in our relationships. Oftentimes the PTSD, as you've talked about, Sue, before, can erupt later in life as well. So if we don't work through it, it can catch us in different relationships or different things that would trigger us because it was not worked through. It can also cause symptoms of agoraphobia or social anxiety. So we know agoraphobia is when a person doesn't want to leave their safe environment. They're fearful. Social anxiety is similar but less serious, and you become anxious around people. You know, long-term insomnia, long-term weight gain, weight loss. So truly is impacting when there's bullying and abuse. It changes the way the brain is wired because of the trauma. Bullying and abuse is trauma. So it changes the chemistry of the brain. What are some of the therapies that you asked? What are some of the therapies that help us treat bullying and abuse, whether you're a teen or an adult? They are similar. So the first start would be addressing the self-esteem. We want to build the confidence of the person. That's typically where I like to start. However, when there are symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we must address the PTSD to lower the level of anxiety, to lower the chemicals in the brain that cause that fight or flight response, so that you can learn the skills to manage your emotions and then increase your confidence. So with bullying or abuse, I start with post-traumatic stress. I'm evaluating what is that fight or flight response level. Are we able to bring it down? And then teaching methods of managing anxiety, depression, negative self-talk, building the self-confidence. So there are multiple treatments. That's cognitive behavioral therapy that I refer to, or dialectical behavior therapy. But we know EMDR is highly successful with trauma. EFT, highly successful for treating trauma. That's a great place to start, and the place I'm actually referring to the most with clients. We don't want to re-traumatize by reliving. So EMDR and EFT allows you to heal through trauma without reliving it. So those are two great starts, right? The other is managing the symptoms. So you can begin to feel like you have control. People who go through a trauma often don't feel like they have control of their own life any longer. So teaching them breathing skills and techniques so they learn how to control those emotions will enable them to be able to learn the skills and enhance the self-confidence. In terms of destructive behaviors, you know, in therapy, when we talk about destructive behaviors, and this person in particular did not say what those behaviors were, but for a clinician, destructive behaviors can range from self-harm to negative self-talk to risky behavior, nutrition. Those types of behaviors can be destructive, right? They're poor coping mechanisms. Not always self-harm, but can be other ways. So, you know, again, when we look at those self-destructive behaviors, what you want to do to really work through before it gets there is to seek treatment sooner than later, right? The sooner you seek treatment, the better. Many of us believe when our children are bullied in school that we can help them work through it, or If they can't manage, then we'll get the support, right? And I'm not saying every child that begins to experience bullying run to therapy. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I think that first stop definitely needs to be, a trusted teacher or the guidance counselor. Guidance counselors have a professional degree in counseling. That's a great place to start. They can do an initial assessment of the child to see if there is a need to go into therapy. If the bullying is prolonged long-term, then absolutely get the support for your child. Do not live in denial. Do not allow your pride to stand in the way of your child getting the help and support they need because you don't believe in therapy or because you don't agree or you think they need to suck it up. You may deal with it one way. Somebody else deals with it the next. Give your child every opportunity to work through painful experiences in their life, regardless of how you have handled it. We can offer our kids advice and support, but it's essential that we honor and recognize that they may not heal like we do. They may need other forms of support that perhaps we've never used before, to be open to them being a unique and independent individual so that they have the best opportunity for healing. Hey, Sue, it's great to see you. Sue is a beautiful teacher. She's actually my daughter's favorite teacher forever. She will always be her favorite teacher. And Maddie talks about her, pretty frequently about how Sue just really influenced her life. How many of you can think of a teacher that influenced your life in a positive way? How many of you can think of that teacher who really helped you feel safe at school or taught you a life lesson or allowed you to feel loved? What is that like? Sue is that person. Sue is that teacher who welcomes every single child unconditionally. And my daughter absolutely fell in love with her. And she taught my daughter the love of English and writing. And my daughter avidly writes like crazy. She journals all the time. And I am grateful to Sue. She was a teacher that has definitely influenced our lives. And I am blessed to actually be close to her neighbor. We live pretty close to each other. So thank you for joining tonight, Sue. I'm definitely honored and humbled that you're here tonight. Other questions, other comments, other things you wanted to discuss, whether it's CBD oil, marital issues, or successes that you've had in your life that you want to share with others that may benefit them, questions about treatment, questions about teenagers, sex, relationships, career. Is there anything on your mind before we wrap up tonight? What are your thoughts? We also talked about not feeling enough and the importance of when we don't feel enough, what do we do? And I shared with you that I felt like that last night and was just crying like crazy. Yeah, there are times I just don't feel like I'm enough. And I reached out to a dear friend who helped ground me and remind me. Hey, Kim, it's great to see you. Hey, Rochelle, it's great to see you. And remind me that I'm enough. Some of us talk with our husbands. My husband, today I said to him, hey, I talked to so-and-so about this project. This was a different person who was actually guiding the project. And I said, he said that I am doing amazing. And he said, I told you, just believe in yourself. You need to see what other people see. And so sometimes I forget, that I am worthy and that I am enough. Just be me, right? And how often do you forget that as well? Because I think it happens to all of us. Even though I'm a therapist, doesn't mean that I also always have, the healthiest mindset. I have to exercise that muscle too, just like you. So every week we read in our book, right? Brave Enough. This time it says, oh, we read this one already. I want to read a new one, don't you? Why did we open up to the same one? Analyze that. All right. Okay, so here we go. Ready? I was reading it first. Sometimes there's language in this. I love this book, but I don't always like the language. So anyways, healing. Healing is a small and ordinary and very burnt thing. Healing is a small and ordinary, very burnt thing. And it's one thing and one thing only. It's doing what you have to do. How about that, right? Hey, Christine, it's great to see you. Healing is a small and ordinary and very burnt thing. And it's one thing and one thing only. It's doing what you have to do. How about that for inspiration? We're talking about not feeling enough, fear of failure, fear of success. How about we just take the advice, being brave enough to do what we have to do, right? Even when it's hard. You know, Shannon shared that she has been in grief counseling. You know, things like grief counseling can be very difficult because there's finality. When we are grieving, we're grieving because there's finality in our life. You know, and that may be something we want to avoid because it's so painful to go through grief therapy. It requires accepting what has changed in our life and learning to live with the pain. Because what we do know about grieving, as we've talked about before, particularly if it's over the loss of someone, what we know about grieving is we don't get over it. We don't develop a new normal, right? Clinicians used to say, well, now you're going to develop a new normal. This is just a new normal. You know, bull crap. When we lose someone and we lose a loved one, it's not about a new normal. It's about learning how to live with the pain. Because I know Shannon, who lost a dear loved one, and Shannon, I'm being respectful and confidential. Although you and I are friends on Facebook, I don't want to share anything perhaps that you wouldn't want others to know, Shannon. But what I do know is, you know, that I can share is that pain of losing a loved one, you forever yearn for that person. That won't go away. So it's not a new normal. It's learning to live with the pain. It's learning to live with the ache that will always be there over the loss of your loved one. And this quote says it purely, that although it's painful, you just do what you have to do. So this week, my friends, what do you have to do that perhaps you're avoiding? What do you have to do that will allow you to move forward in your development or your healing? I want you to identify something that you've avoided that will help you move forward. And I want you to do it. I want you to own that you are enough. You are more than enough. Just do it. You deserve that joy, that healing, that happiness, and you can't get there unless you just do it, right? So I want you to do it this week. Sue, you're most welcome. Today is the 23rd anniversary of your mom's passing, and that pain is still raw and real. Yeah, Sue, you know, when you lose a mom, a child, a parent, a loved one, or even a pet, that yearning, that ache is very real. Even years later, 23 years later, it sucks, but it's still within the realm of healthy to feel that yearning, that ache for that person. So Sue, today, how do you celebrate mom's life? How do you celebrate mom's legacy? Because I know she'd be darn proud of you, my friend. She'd be darn proud of you, right? All right. It doesn't look like there's any other questions. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, right? This is the end of our evening together. And I'll have to tell you the project that I was like crying over, I'm going back to it tonight after we hang up, after we end our session. And I can tell you today, no tears, because I am enough. I am enough. I am smart enough. I am brave enough to rise and complete this project that I'm working on. You are enough. Use your I am statements. Use your I am statements to remind yourself when you're not feeling like you are enough, you are created beautifully. You are created just as you are to be. Continue to strive. Continue to strive to be the best person that you can be with integrity. What makes you an integrous person? What defines integrity for you? I want you to live it every day. Part of integrity is giving back, serving. How can you give back and serve if you don't love and treasure yourself? So my friends, beautiful tribe, go this week and serve people. Yes, Marcy, you are enough. Own who you are. Say you are enough multiple times. I am grateful for you. I adore you. I cherish you. And I cannot wait to be in your space next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let me tell you, the podcasts that are coming out are going to move mountains and make you cry. So please be sure you're listening to the podcasts because they will enrich your life. Because every story saves a life. Every story saves a life. Good evening, Trisha. It is great to see you, my friend. So go this week and serve. I love each and every one of you. If you need anything, please reach out. You know where to find me. If you're interested in CBD oil, the benefits of CBD oil, how you can use it in your life or in your business, please send me a direct message. We'll spend some time talking and see if it's a good fit for you. And if it's a good fit, I'll help you get connected. Have a great evening, everybody.